My next guest got a huge fight coming up against former Bellator women's featherweight champion Julia Budd on August 22nd at Bellator 244. It is Jessy Miele joining me here on the program. Jessy, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for taking the time. How excited were you to get this fight? It's not every day you get to fight a former Bellator champion.
Oh, I was extremely excited. She's she's a four-time world champion, so I'm really happy for it.
Was it something you were expecting? I know you had your Bellator debut, but you never know with their matchmaking and everything. Or was this a fight you were expecting in just your second fight?
I was expecting it at some point, so I definitely was expecting it.
She was on your radar, yes,
maybe not the
exactly.
second one, but yeah.
Now, obviously, training hard for this fight. COVID-19, how has that impacted your training over the last couple months? Just because I know for a lot of fighters, it's smaller groups, or it's not getting to do some of the things they'd like to. How have you been impacted?
It's been really tough, obviously, like kind of interacting with people, touching. Wrestling and mixed martial arts is the hardest part. One of my strength and conditioning gym opened up really early and had followed the rules. We were outside, which was awesome just to get out there. I had been doing some things with one or two partners, specific people who didn't have children that were somebody that I would see normally on a daily basis anyway. So I was able to do some, but it was still hard.
Is there any or do you have any friends or family members being should you be fighting right now? Because a lot of people I know are concerned about COVID and getting it and stuff. Or everyone sort of supporting you? I mean, they should be. You're fighting. This is a huge fight for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now. I mean, my family is very much with oh, you're going to the gym. Be careful. This, that. My mom buys me or has 20 masks every day when I see her. I'm like, Mom, I have enough. But they're supportive definitely. And some of my coworkers, they haven't even really left their houses. They get everything ordered. They're very much are you sure you want to do that? But it is what it is.
How is work going during the pandemic? Because I know for a lot of people, it's it's sort of people are worried about their job security and things like that. It sounds like everything's going okay for you.
It was I was lucky. So a lot of people actually in the past had kind of told me why are you working a full-time job and fighting full-time, so that's crazy. You're insane for doing that. You could dedicate so much more time, but I'm really glad that I had been, because a lot of people who were only fighting during COVID, they were out of work. So I do work from home, which is nice, so I can cook my meals while I'm doing my work. But yeah, it's okay. My boyfriend almost wants to kill me though, because now we're really home all the time because I can't go
yes. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, things have certainly changed with the pandemic. So Julia Budd, we know what she's good at. Good striking. Obviously fought sort of the who's who in the division. How do you feel like you match up against her?
I think I'm absolutely going to be fine against her. To be honest, it's just me executing my game plan and not hesitating to apply my game plan. As long as I do what I've been planning to do, then I'll be fine.
You fought a lot of really good competition in your career, and I think that's one of the differences between a lot of Julia's opponents, outside of Cyborg, obviously, but a lot of these featherweights that are in Bellator, they just haven't fought the level of competition. How much do you think that's going to serve you well? Because you fought for all types of major promotions, like CES, for example. I know you fought for them. You've been everywhere, so how much do you feel like that will help you in this matchup?
Absolutely. No, it'll definitely help me in the matchup. The adrenaline rush, sometimes you don't expect it, you don't know what's going to happen. But I've also done a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. Not everything's out there on the web, but I've done tons of jiu-jitsu tournaments against people like Tara LaRosa, high, really popular fighters that, it was just jiu-jitsu, but still, I'm ready to go.
Who have been some of your main training partners for this camp?
It's mostly just my local training partners. Some of them aren't, pro fighters necessarily, but they're the best of the best. My coaches, two of my coaches are either holding pads and sometimes they're even sparring with me. But yeah, mainly all of my local training partners out of Connecticut have been really awesome, from Underdog and IMBCC.
Excellent. And, in terms of, obviously the weight cut and everything, is that easier because you're at home, you can make your own meals a little bit more? Or how's that been going?
The weight cut it's going good, but it's not as easy. Not that it was easy ever. Just in general, it's hard to kind of get certain foods, certain things. I feel like I've taken on a little bit more. My job's also kind of been more demanding since everyone's home. A lot of us during COVID had no idea what was going to happen, so we try to maintain weight. But some of us might have ate a little more than we should have.
Right.
So I am doing fine, yeah. But.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. When did you actually find out about this fight? Because I know, speaking to Julia yesterday, it seemed like she had a bit of notice for this. When did you find out?
I think it was 4 weeks ago. Yeah, okay. It wasn't not much, but I had
not ideal, but enough to get in a decent camp, right? Yeah, I mean, you're always training, but obviously when you're training for someone specifically, it's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, and they always say, especially with women, be ready for anything, because you never know, you might just get that call last minute. So. There's not a lot of us. So,
For sure. Yeah, no, that's great. Who's going to be in your corner for this fight?
Both coaches out of both of my gyms, Waterbury, Connecticut, Chris Smith, and Russell Leak out of Underdog Mixed Martial Arts in West Hartford, Connecticut.
How's this fight playing out? I mean, I think this is going to be one of the fights of the night, just with both your styles and what you bring to the table. How do you envision the fight unfolding?
I envision it being probably going all 3 rounds potentially, or being really fast, one or the other.
Okay. Interesting. So watching that Cyborg fight, is there anything you take away from that you saw? Because, I mean, a lot of fighters have had difficulty defeating Julia Budd over the last, I don't know how many years. And Cyborg, obviously, very high-level fighter, but, she was able to do it and actually finish Julia.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every fight that you watch, I mean, I'm lucky to actually have a lot of footage of her. She's been around for a long period of time, so I can watch a lot of her fights. A lot of my fights, some of them, they didn't take the video, so I don't know where they are. But I definitely learned a lot from that, but I learned a lot from watching myself in my past fights and kind of planning on how I would beat myself. So that's been helpful for the past year for my own training.
Now, with Bellator, are you on a multi-fight deal? Because I know for some fights they just bring a fighter in for if the card's close to home type thing. Are you actually have a multi-fight deal, or is it just see what happens with this one and then you're a free agent?
I do have a contract. Matt Bissett is my manager, and I have a 3-fight contract, so this would be the second one. Technically, I'm not sure how that worked with this Leslie Smith's one since we didn't actually fight, so I think I still might have another one on my contract, but yeah, I do.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. I think that's awesome because you know what? I always felt and I've followed your career for a while. I remember I remember rumors of you going on The Ultimate Fighter, and there's all these things that I know should have happened for you. And this is such a huge fight. In some ways, is this kind of redemption, getting an opportunity like this because you've been grinding for a while and fighting some really tough competition, like I mentioned.
Yeah. It didn't happen early. I didn't get the call to the big names early. Some other people did, and some of them got washed out. They got beat, they were gone. So I'm just happy to be here right now. I'm where I want to be, exactly where I want to be right now.
Do you get the indication that if you go out there, especially if you get a finish in this fight, that you could potentially fight for the title next? Because there's a few featherweights on the roster, but just with your resume and your experience, I think that would put you head and shoulders above everyone else.
Absolutely. Anything can happen, and I will be prepared no matter what. I'll be ready for it.
Excellent. That sounds good. What's Downtime looking like? You talk about how busy you are with work and, obviously, hanging out with your boyfriend and everything, but what are you doing to kind of take your mind off of everything that's going on to kind of break things up a little bit?
Well, that's a hard thing to say because it's the biggest fight of my life. So I feel like every day I'm go, go, go. I want to keep nothing is
it's kind of watching Julia Budd tape on your downtime and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe Netflix once in a while. And my boyfriend is a producer, so he'll DJ, and I will probably shadow box or dance around. And during COVID, that's kind of what we did. So I would practice in the house, and he'd play his music. So it was kind of nice, at least.
That's a good combo. That's actually pretty cool. So what type of music does he play? Is he an old school guy, or does he play new stuff? What does he DJ?
His company's based out of Canada, Art Vibes Music. So he plays a lot of. It's melodic techno, and he's got a couple different varieties. But yeah, there's a little disco in there. There's a little 80s in there sometimes. We have a lot of fun, but it's definitely great for shadowboxing and training.
Is he making your walkout song? Are you going to have a remix to go out?
That's the idea. I'm still seeing what's going on. It might be a surprise, so I guess we'll find out when I walk out.
And I guess the other thing with this fight is there's no crowd. I'm sure you've anticipated that, what that's going to be like because for some fighters they like it. They can hear the commentators. They can hear their corner a lot easier. But for others, they really feed off that crowd. Have you sort of visualized that yet?
It would be interesting because being out of Connecticut, Mohegan Sun, I do usually have a big crowd there because it is my state. But, now I have no excuse to tell my coaches I couldn't hear them. So, we'll just go with the flow. We're all in the same boat, so I'm pretty sure, Julia, this is her first fight without a crowd too. So we'll figure it out.
Jessy, it was great catching up with you. Really excited for this fight. It's coming up here August 21st. It is Bellator 244. Anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, all of my sponsors, thank you, by the way, for having me on. I really appreciate that. And then, Timeless CBD, they don't get any credit for being in when I go to fight for Bellator because they're not allowed to have a separate company. So I want to say thank you to them mainly right now for this show. And all of my other sponsors also, they'll be on the banners as well. So if you guys, are listening, check out the banner and, go look them up.